Hello, everyone, and welcome to Movie Mandates, the show where my sister and I force each other to watch movies according to a monthly theme. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kelly.
It's Kaijubilee month on Movie Mandates, and we're kicking off our celebration of all monsters big and stompy with my mandated movie, Shin Godzilla, a film that dramatizes the horror of government bureaucracy, a word that I can't pronounce apparently. Red tape, meetings, press conferences, political infighting, and just generally working with other people. Oh, and there's a big googly-eyed lizard stomping Tokyo flat while leaking radiation everywhere. But that's secondary to needling Greg to remember how I always had his back when it's time for him to appoint a cushy ambassador position.
Yes, there you
But
go.
before we can talk about the fascinating office drama that happens indoors while a giant stompy monster stomps giantly outdoors, it's only fair that since I mandated today's movie, Kelly gets to challenge me in a segment we call Trivial Trivia.
Very exciting. I just watched a movie called Shin Godzilla, and in
Hey,
said
me too.
movie, yeah, right. Not to give anything away, but we're gonna give it away. We defeat him, which is exciting, and because in the Godzilla oeuvre, which there's like plus 30 films,
Yeah.
it's normally another monster.
Yeah. It took Toho like 70 years to make 30 some movies. It took Marvel like 12.
But right, so like he's either on our side in some movies or he's beaten by another kaiju. But there are those movies that we humanids do best the beast, if you will.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to ask you to name the movies because that would be very, very hard. In fact, there are seven. Shin Godzilla is one of them. So there's six other ways. Can you name three of them that we were able to?
Oh, the ways that we defeated
Yes,
Godzilla.
yes, yes,
Well, the first movie is the oxygen bomb,
yes,
which explodes underwater and just strips his flesh off his bones.
yes.
Um, so that's the first one.
Yep.
Um, Jesus, all the rest of them, he's either fighting Godzilla or Mothra or Rodan or Mecha Godzilla or King Ghidorah.
Well,
Well, the Roland Emmerich one in '98, he gets stuck on a cable bridge and pelted with
Brooklyn.
missiles from a plane.
Yep, that's one of them. You
Uh,
actually, I'll let you continue before I jump
Fighter
in.
planes. God.
Yes, 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 yes.
Uh, let's see. We I th he the Godzilla 1985. That's a solo Godzilla movie. I don't remember how it ends though. Um, are you
That one
counting
is the Brooklyn Bridge one. That's the Brooklyn Bridge getting in the one that Matthew
not
Broderick was
the
in,
Matthew? That
was
was
it?
1998. I'm talking about
Yeah, that's the Brooklyn
Godzilla
one.
1985,
Oh, never
which
mind.
I honestly don't remember how that one ends. Um, so the question is in the Godzilla solo movies, how do we?
No, like in the oeuvre that is Gojira. Like we have one, and you to bring it back around, you did mention one that you didn't realize that you mentioned that I actually have on my list because you were listing his nemesis. Mechagodzilla, brother,
Mhm.
is man-made and man-controlled.
Oh, isn't it like it, I think that I'm just misremembering because I think there's another movie where Mechagodzilla is actually an alien.
They actually bring Mechagodzilla back for a different movie, but at that point, uh what the heck? Godzilla, who we're talking about, the main character, Kelly.
Yeah,
Godzilla
because I
bests
think there's a
Mecha.
Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and I think there's a Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, or Godzilla fights him again, or something.
Possibly. But yeah,
Uh,
so
well, no, I mean, there's the one that came out here in 2014. That although we don't really beat him, he just kind of goes away after a while.
He's like,
Um,
I'm done. I'm tired of this
I
stuff.
mean, we actually fix in which one is it? It's Godzilla King of Monsters. I think we just put a nuke. We blow him up with a nuke to heal him and make him better. Um,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's funny. I do remember that. So there's two more. Do you want me to give away?
uh,
Well, I'll give away one and it might lead you to the other.
sure.
Uh old one of and this is the older of the references then. We lead him to snow-capped mountains and bury him in an avalanche.
Which one is that?
You're gonna make me look it back up, aren't you?
Yeah, I have not seen all of the Godzilla movies.
Correct.
So.
Yeah. That would be quite the
Well, I have seen all the Marvel movies, so I guess
well, okay.
I've seen almost all the James Bond movies. I think there's 20 some of those.
Oh, really? Okay, that's the one that we haven't talked about yet. That's that one. It is no, it is. I think it is Godzilla Rides Again.
Oh,
Because the
wait,
oxygen destroyer
isn't it
doesn't.
Raids again? That's the second one,
Yep,
right?
yep. It's raids again.
Wait, do they
Sorry.
use the oxygen destroyer again in the second
Yes.
movie?
So but it doesn't work. So there's or no, it was lost. The oxygen destroyer was lost, so they don't have another thing. And
Okay.
they bury him under an avalanche. And that's the that one, the
That's
raid.
Raids
That's
again. That's the
yeah,
second movie. Pretty
it's a
sure.
second movie. It's
Okay.
Raids Again, and that's the one that they
Which came
also
out like the next year.
yeah, yeah.
Like unsurprised because I think Gojira was 54 and that was 55, which reminds me of King Kong, which I think was 33, and I think Son of Kong like came out later that year, if not the very
Oh,
next year. It was really
it
quick.
was that quick
Yeah, it was a
succession.
really quick turnaround. And surprisingly, Son of Kong is pretty good. I was
Yeah.
genuinely surprised by it. Anyway,
All right, let me get to the one
they
that we
bury him
haven't.
in an avalanche.
Yeah. And so this one, the movie is Return of Godzilla from 84. Wait.
Oh, that might be the one that was remonikered Godzilla 19. Oh, wait, was it Godzilla 1984 instead of I thought it was 85.
This says 84, Return of Godzilla. I might have the year wrong, but I have that he's like the synopsis is.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So the American release was called Godzilla 1985, but that's clearly the movie you're talking about.
Okay.
Because before that it'd been like 10 years.
Yeah,
The
no, it's
last
been a
movie was
while.
like 10 years prior. It was in the mid 70s somewhere.
What a weird rebranding that we Godzilla 1985. That'll bring people to the multiplex.
Yeah, it's I
Return of Godzilla makes for a better. You knew him then.
yeah,
Now
I
see
don't know.
him
So
now.
how do we what happened in that one?
Oh, volcano.
Do we
Led
push him
him.
into a volcano?
Yeah, we led him to an eruption of a volcano.
I have like maybe a very slight sense memory of that. Like of course I've seen a bunch of Godzilla. I've probably seen Godzilla standing near a volcano at some point, but okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
Um
there you go.
there you go. A movie with 30 some odd entries, and not many of them are actually good films. Many of them have a lot of really fun stuff to look at because just watching dudes in rubber suits fall on models is pretty fun.
So it was really funny because we were watching it and then he was going in and out. And so when we were talking about it today, I was like telling him about the parts that he missed. And I was telling him about how it went. And I was like really excited talking about it. And he goes, I think we had different experiences with this movie. And I was like, yeah, I think we did. I think we did.
It was the office drama not drawing him in.
Oh my God. I think that's probably what put him to sleep.
But
I am
you know what this director likes? Close-ups.
Not just
close-ups of people's faces and
not
title
just
cards telling you who all these assholes are.
I couldn't read half the movie because I'm like, I can't, I think it's brilliant how they did it. Yeah. I love what they did, but they also like it's a language just like Spanish that is spoken real quickly. And so I'm a slow reader anyways. Um
It's
so
actually not as fast as it
it
is.
just
A
sounds
lot
that
more
way.
is communicated in less words.
Fa fair.
So they'll say like 5 actual words, and you'll have two English.
Yeah, we like to, you know, be loquacious and really just pull out those
Throw all that stuff out. Yeah.
all the adjectives. Let's put them in there. um, but no, I also enjoyed with, you know, quotation marks, the like I this character is you are a computer nerd. That is your entire character. You will never lift your eyes from the screen. You had like it's just like
If
the
blocking takes you from your table to another place that's marked on the floor with gaffer's tape, you will bring that laptop with you.
exactly looking at it the whole time. But it's like
I also
she
kind of
wasn't
like that no one in this movie is like Hollywood pretty except the one American girl, or well, the Japanese girl who's supposed to be American, who
yes, yes, yes.
clearly learned English phonetically for this role, but it did a pretty good job. I
No,
mean,
it was yeah.
clearly not a not a English speaker, but uh, she speaks English better than I'd speak Japanese. So, but
Yes.
I did kind of like that the vast majority of the cast are just crusty old office people. Even the
Dude.
young people are just kind of
Oh my
they
gosh.
never go outside.
It was also so my other, and we'll get to the plot here in a moment. I just need to talk about really quick the funny parts is like you were saying in the intro, like the bureaucracy and how everything works behind closed doors. I flipping love when the prime minister is, you know, calling the orders and it's like the guys on the ground go to the you know, that guy and then he has to ask her and then she has to ask the prime minister and then the prime minister answers her and like they're sitting next to
They're
me.
sitting in the same room. It's like
Not even same room, next to each other.
literally next to each other. Yeah.
Because she doesn't, or at least in the subtitles, she doesn't even repeat the question. She asks just for like, you know, because he says they have the target in sight. Can we fire missiles? And she looks to the prime minister and she's like, what do you say, sir? So like she knows he can hear.
Like, you realize that I'm old, but I'm not deaf. I can hear, right?
So it's just, you know, if he was supposed to be la la la, I don't get my information from you, then she should ask the full question. I'm sorry.
I will
My
only
veins are
listen to the
popping because I'm
maid.
laughing. Oh, age. Anyways, so let's talk about first off, before we talk about it, the one thing I don't know, I looked peripherally through my day, so I
What
didn't
this
find
movie
it.
has to do with Godzilla's shin?
Yeah. What is Shin? Is Shin just the god? Like, what is
The
Shin?
word sheen,
Yeah.
it can mean a couple different things, but generally speaking, I think at least in this context, it means new Godzilla. So it's kind of like
Oh,
a reboot, a new start. This is the new Godzilla.
I like it.
You'll see a bunch of franchise properties like I think like Sheen Kamen Rider or something like that. Sheen Ultraman, and it's just it's a word that's often used for like reboots or remakes. And here's the
Okay.
new version of this. We're starting fresh.
Okay.
So in
Got it.
this movie, Godzilla did not you know rise from the depths 70 years prior. This is the first emergence of something like this in this.
Right. In this world, this is, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, and that actually, good for me. Pat on the back. That leads us right into what's so new about this. You don't want to talk about it?
No, go.
Oh,
I
I was
was
like,
nodding.
okay. So this guy, it
Yeah.
starts, I'm not gonna go beat by beat, but I'm just gonna go funny moment by funny moment, which um there is like an eruption, a huge just geyser in the not even in the middle of the ocean, like pretty close off the shore of Tokyo. Like you can see it from the shore. It's like, oh boy. And
It's
so of
it's
course,
like in a it's like in a bay somewhere
yeah, thank
because
you.
there's bridges, there's an
Yeah.
underwater car tunnel.
Yeah, there's an underwater tunnel and whatnot. But like, yeah, so of course everyone in the government there has to get together and be like, oh, environmental this, or is it a threat from another nation that, or blah 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 blah
Or a
blah.
volcano.
Or yeah, is there a volcano that we don't know about? And
Or there's
so
some like blue whales getting all frisky.
that's quite a climax. Talk about blowing your load. No.
It's
So the
it's like a look. Fast forward, we get our first look at the monster. Is this wobbly, noodly appendage flopping around, and like, is that a tail of something? I'm like, I don't think that's a tail.
oh my gosh, because it didn't go to a point, friends. Like
No, it's got a bit of
it
a
went to like a
bulbous
circular
end.
bulbous end, and I was like, huh. And it's thankfully when we meet Godzilla and then we learn that he is evolving so quickly and he evolves, because when we first see him and we see that tail and then he comes on land, I'm like, completely different sized tail. And then when he started to, morph, I was like, okay, I feel a little bit better because now I can explain away the fact that he used to be literally a tail and
Yeah, he
now
was just a
it's
big like eel or snake, water snake thing, and
right.
yeah.
So the point is there's one dude who is very interested in the public, his name is funny. What is his name? It was very funny. I'm not going to remember it because I don't know.
Rando.
Yes. Rando. I loved it so much. I was like, oh,
I mean,
that's perfect.
that works in English really well. Just I
And
doubt that's
thank you.
why they
Thank you.
picked that name in Japanese, but in English,
100% not, but it was
pretty
definitely
funny.
one of the things that I thought was very funny as I was watching. I'm like, Rando. Although they talk mostly about last names because that's
Hmm.
how you do. Anyway, so he's looking to see what the public is talking about because obviously as members of parliament and different ministers, like, oh, you're gonna need to make a statement pretty soon. Um, so he's looking to see what people are reacting to, and he sees
Yeah,
whatever
he's on
20
YouTube and he's
I was
like
gonna say whatever
on TikTok and
2016's TikTok
yeah.
was. And he sees like some scales and a tail, and he's like, oh, there's something down there. And thankfully, they don't believe him at first, but thankfully, like pretty quickly after, there's a big
I
that's when the
mean, to be
tail
fair, even
comes
a
up.
pot of very frisky blue whales shouldn't be making that much of a disturbance. I mean,
Right.
it's understandable to be like, there isn't anything, there's no extant organism that would do that
Yeah.
we're aware of. So, yeah.
Right. Right. So they turn on the television, and of course now they're like, oh, this dude with this outlandish theory all of a sudden now, okay, fine, we'll listen to you.
Okay, don't know what the hell that is, but that is something.
Yeah, that's something we don't know what it is. Well, but then we get into the whole, okay, environmental protection. Is this a new species? We can't just kill it because if it's a new species, we are going to want to study it and this and that. So all the different moral conundrums, right, are coming. And meanwhile, Godzilla doesn't care about your moral conundrum and comes ashore. And in,
Right after the PM is like, we have it on good
oh,
authority. This
yes,
thing is staying in the bay.
thank
Kind of
you.
runs
Yes,
over,
like
whisper, whisper, whisper. He's like, he what?
in the press conference that happens, and that's
Yep.
brilliant. And let me just say, none of you have to watch this movie, but you will have to watch the very first glimpse, like not glimpse, but when they finally reveal the and he's like coming down
The
the
little
road.
googly eyed guys, he's crawling through the.
It's the best thing it's the worst effects I've ever seen. It's the best worst thing I've ever seen. It was
What's
incredible.
Yes, it's what's funny is it has these big googly eyes and it's really, really goofy look because it's totally uncoordinated.
And it's
It's
shaking its head. Yeah.
yeah, and it is the goofiest looking Godzilla I have ever seen. Now, granted, this is one of its early forms before it stands upright and
Sure.
breathes fire and stuff, but is one of the goofiest kaijus I have ever seen. But on the other, but it's also, if I saw that coming at me, that would be horrifying.
Oh
It's
my
goofy,
gosh.
but it's also simultaneously horrifying looking. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's kind of like a blobfish. You're like, that is a goofy look. It's
Yes. Oh,
disgusting.
yes. That's exactly like that
Yes, that
sound. Yeah.
melting face looking fish. Yeah.
Yes. Oh man. So he comes ashore, wreaks havoc, and then this is when he doesn't pass out because he does he amalgamate now or does he do that later? He
No,
just goes back to the sea this time, right?
he's like he gets a certain distance and then he just turns around and heads
Turns
back
and
to the
like
water to cool down.
right. Well,
They
which we
figure,
learned that that's why
yeah,
he headed to the water. So here's my first problem with the movie.
they're like,
Okay.
oh, he's because they're like, how does something like that power itself? It's the amount of food that thing would have to eat is just
Oh
there's
my
no way
gosh.
it would
Yeah.
sustain itself. And they're like, that thing's a walking fission reactor. And like, well, that's why it had to go cool down.
Yeah. So I really enjoy how they did all that. Like explaining kind of how this creature could possibly survive, which also helps how they get him at the end, but more on that later. The This movie suffered from somehow what every movie suffers from bad timeline management because after his first reign of terror on land, and he goes to one of the wards and like just demolishes it and then goes back to the sea. And they don't know yet that he's cooling himself off. They're not sure what's happening. And they're like, we're going to have to monitor and see where he's going. But it, there starts to be a voiceover type of a thing, like news broadcaster. And they're like, and then they're showing like they're panning over the city and people are dusting themselves off and they have some cranes coming in and they're like, we're going to start to rebuild. And I thought that this was a passage of time, like, oh, they're getting comfortable again because Godzilla's going to come back. And then after what is at least a full 1 minute montage of like the devastation and we're going to rebuild and all this, they go to the devastation and the parliament people are the I don't know. Are they what is a prime minister? Is that is there a parliament?
It's a very it's above like the regional governors.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not sure exactly of the entire hierarchy of Japan's governing system, but it's
Okay.
one of the higher ups.
Okay. So they go and,
I don't know if it's like president, but it's
okay. So they go and observe the demolition area. And that is when I realized, oh, zero time has gone by. It's literally like they left the buildings and came down here. So why did we have this really weird montage with cranes looking like we're starting to rebuild this ward when no one could work that fast in hours ostensibly because it's the same day. And they do that twice in the movie with this kind of like news reporter real type of thing to like set a scene, but it makes you feel like it's passage of time, the scene that they are setting, and it's a zero passage of time. And I'm like, these are poorly used. Anyways, that's
I wonder if to a local audience it would be a little bit more clear. Like what they're trying to show is like in the areas where Godzilla didn't flatten things, everyone's just going about their day, even though they
yeah.
have a big lizard. But over here, it's
Over
bad.
okay,
You know,
because
it might more visually rock to a local audience. But
that's true because I don't know what I'm looking at.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
cities are
they talk about
cities.
the various regions and stuff. I'm like, I don't know where that is
Yeah,
in relation to anything else. So
right. Okay.
I mean,
I'll allow that
yeah,
then.
you say Florida or New York or California or Texas. I know where in the country we live in that is.
Right.
Canada's above it, Mexico's below it. But you talk about the Kanto region in Japan. I'm like, it looks like this. I don't know whereabouts that
Yeah,
is.
I
I
always
have
have to
no idea
bring
where,
out a map.
where
Yeah.
Tokyo or Osaka or anything is. I don't.
No, geography not the strongest suit of mine.
especially other people's geography.
That's right. I know the states really well.
Alabama and Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California,
There you go.
Connecticut, and more, Delaware, Florida. Holy shit. Um,
Florida, Georgia. Anyways,
Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Columbus.
well, now you would just
Ohio.
change songs.
Or wait, that's the cities and states
I
from
know, that's why.
from
Because you just
it's actually
started with the
Wacko from
states.
Animaniacs.
Yes, yes, yes. Um,
The United
okay.
States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Guam, and El Salvador, too, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela. Jesus, why is this shit in my head? Why can't I remember the important things? Anyway,
I know our phone number from childhood. Um,
hey
okay, so
Andrew, what's your address?
yeah, right. Like yeah. The stuff that I keep up here and the stuff I should keep up here are definitely two different two different stats.
But I remember a bunch of nursery rhymes.
Absolutely. So okay, so he goes back to the sea, he's cooling off. They don't know that really yet. They're working that out. So then when he comes back the second time and goes to another place because he's like, I've already flattened that one. Let's go over here, is when he first does his morph in front of us. And like, there's obviously something he did between the sea and the land. So he comes back and like he grows legs in front of everybody because
Well, they
before
already
he
kind
grows
of
legs,
had them. I mean, he was like a big caterpillar with these weird
yes,
wobbly legs under him, but they were like way in the back, so he's kind of like pushing his face into the floor as he tried to slither along. But
the
yeah, now
second
he's starting to
when
stand.
he like
Really
gets
goofy.
on his like he kind of like flops himself and then he flops himself on a building. I was
He's trying to stand up. Yeah.
like, it is like a baby giraffe or something. Um, so which was pretty. It was pretty cool, and I was like, oh, there you go. There's the Godzilla I recall because I really did at first. I was like, oh, this is a really new take on
I
this
mean, even
dude.
when he does get fully upright, it's still a
Is a
very unique design for Godzilla.
Yes. Yes,
With
he's
the
still different.
still got a tail that's about 3 times longer than he is. He's got this mouth that with a dislocating jaw and a mouth full of humongous teeth,
Oh,
like he's
yeah.
the nightmare versions of the Five Nights at Freddy's characters, with the mouth all full of teeth. So it's a
Yeah.
really different look, and his body, Skin Godzilla, if you will, has a very almost like he has no skin, like his musculature and skeleton is kind of exposed through the skin. He's got
Yeah.
kind of a my flesh never actually formed right kind of a look to him.
It's a really gooey, like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
kind of gross. It's
yeah, well,
not a Godzilla you want to touch.
especially because like the radioactive fluid that he's leaking is like gushing from his gills, and you're like, what is oh, it's
Yeah,
actually
when he first crawls out of the water, he seems to be like expelling a lot of gunk out of his lungs through his gills, and it looks to be this like really toxic, sludgy crap that's probably not good for the
yeah,
environment.
I'm like, that's not great right there. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very true thing. So, so they send this is so they send they being the US apparently send a Nepo government baby.
He absolutely is. Yeah. As she's competent apparently, but she absolutely is a politics nepo baby.
Yes, I'm like, oh, I don't know how, but so the US has information about Godzilla because of some heretic dude who's missing. And so they share.
There's
So
yeah, there's
that's
the
like a
crazy
side-ish
scientist
plot, in my
dude who
opinion.
is talking about the dangers that our laissez-faire attitude towards nuclear waste disposal is going to come bite us in the ass. and Japan wouldn't listen to him, and America wouldn't listen to him. So he basically wrote all of his stuff in a diary, but in a like a kind of a cryptic way, which they had to use origami to figure it
Origami.
out. And he's just like, all right, peace out. Screw you guys. Figure it out on your own. Do what you want. I don't care.
So
And I, I guess he committed suicide. I think he drowned himself.
I
In
think
Japan, there's this my understanding, there's this idea of like before you pitch yourself off of a roof, you take off your shoes and you leave your shoes there. So if someone throws themselves off the top of the building,
Oh,
you'd see a pair of shoes there. And when we board his boat, we see his pair of shoes. Just the only thing we see of him is just a pair of shoes. So I'm that
I
again,
I
not
didn't know
I
that. No,
think
I think
that
that's
might be
brilliant.
what they're going for there because we never see from the guy, never hear from the guy. I think he pitched his ass overboard.
I agree with you, and I think that, like you said earlier, culturally that they would immediately know what that
Yeah,
meant.
if I'm right about that, every Japanese audience is gonna go, oh yeah,
Yeah,
he killed himself.
that's
He's like, I'm
fascinating.
out, dickheads, figure it out.
So, speaking of figuring out and the weird big old plans of like, here's all my notes, figure out my notes. And they're like, they can't do it, they can't do it, they can't do it. And then I forget who it is who's like, what if it's not supposed to, what if it needs to be folded? Or however he says that. It's very funny because my head went immediately to Mad Magazine and I'm like, oh, fold it in, fold
Yeah.
it in. But that's what I wanted them to do, is just be like Mad Magazine, and then there was gonna be a picture. Didn't work like that, but that's what I
No.
wanted. In my head, that's what I wanted. Um, so the thing about being like a living nuclear reactor is you get some he's continually evolving to the point that he shoots lasers from his mouth, from his dorsal fins,
And the
from
tip of his tail.
the tip that's from his tail, and like lightsaber laser beam, very concentrated, can completely, when he started shooting them out of his, because at first when he shoots them out of his mouth, I was like, I'll allow it because the others breathe fire, since he's some sort of since he is fission or whatever that is. So he that makes sense to me. And then when the helicopters are going and he puts his head down and he like spikes his spikes and the spikes themselves start doing lasers, I'm like, God, I'm like, he wins. Like I was like, nope, we do not win this movie.
What's what's funny about this iteration of Godzilla is first of all, I love the fact that it dislocates its jaw and it's and you're as a Godzilla fan, you're like, oh, he's gonna do the atomic breath thing. And he
Yes.
pitches over forward and he's like, oh, he's just kind of like dry heaving this weird, gross, misty gas thing that's just spreading. It's like, oh, that's probably not good for the environment either. And then he's like, and
And
then it
it's
just lights on fire and it just torches the entire place. And then he's like, and then it just narrows into a beam. He's like, yeah, there, that's what I was going for. It takes him a minute,
yeah, he's a child.
him getting that thing focused. And then so because they start with small arms fire, and then they say, well, not the person with the gun, but they start with machine guns from
Right.
helicopters, and they're like, well, that
And it
ain't
just
doing shit.
bounces.
Use the bigger bullets. That's not working. Use the tanks. And then they're like, use missiles from planes and stuff. And what's hilarious is not only does nothing work, Godzilla doesn't seem to really even notice. Like they're shooting at him, and he's not even annoyed.
Mm-mm.
Not like, wow, dude.
No
No,
reaction.
he's just like,
Not even like a fly, not even like a nuisance of these helicopters.
yeah,
Like,
it's like, okay, I don't it doesn't look like we can kill him. It doesn't look like we could even like convince him to go anywhere. He just doesn't
he
doesn't
doesn't react
care.
to anything.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't react. This is the least lacking in character Godzilla. The Godzilla with, I mean, what's frightening about this one is it's almost literally a walking nuclear reactor. It doesn't care.
Yeah,
It
no, there's
there's there's
no.
there's no malice. It's not eating anything. It's just a force of nature. My Yeah, so the original movie was capitalizing on
Hiroshima.
the atomic bombs that we dropped on that country a decade before. I'm going to guess that this one is using a lot of its iconography from the where was it? Fukushima, something like that. But like 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, there was that humongous like 9.0 earthquake off the coast of Japan that caused a tsunami and took the
Fukushima.
power out at a nuclear plant and it melted down.
Yeah.
Right? Remember that? I'm guessing that, a lot of the iconography, especially because Fish Godzilla was kind of like swimming up a canal and just pushing a bunch of water
Oh,
into
yes.
front of
Oh,
it.
yeah. There was a
And
big, that was a big deal.
and the just everything washed into a line. That's exactly what that area of Japan looked like in the aftermath of that damn tsunami. So I'm guessing that's kind of
I
the
wonder if they
imagery
used
that they
any
were
footage.
drawing on for this film. Because this movie is like 2016.
16. Yeah.
2016. So
2016.
that was, I don't know,
11.
12
11.
2011. Okay, so yeah, that would have been 5 years earlier. So it would have been fresh in their minds.
Yeah, I looked that up for this, so I was like, that's
Yeah.
why. Yeah.
Yeah. So it really wasn't until the standing around surveying the first attack, I was like,
Oh,
the
yeah.
floody tsunami thingy. Yeah, I remember this. So but yeah, the fact that it doesn't really seem to be a creature. Like
No, it doesn't seem.
it's just standing there and it's like what the guy who goes missing, who we never see, we're guessing he committed suicide. This isn't an organism. This is consequences. This is the consequences of dumping toxic waste in the drink, and now you've got this damn problem.
Yeah.
And it's just standing there, and you can shoot at radiation all you want. Radiation isn't going anywhere. It's not affected by bullets or missiles. It really doesn't care.
But what is it affected by?
Cold.
Yes, I love like how they best the beast. I loved it.
Yeah. So America's like, hey, we got more of them damn nuclear bombs we could drop. These are even bigger. And Japan's like,
no.
Could we not?
Could we not again?
Like,
yeah.
There's a bunch of us still alive that remember the last one, Maybe could we have another day to kind of, because our ragtag group of bureaucrats who are less inclined to deal with red tape have been working on a thing. So maybe give them an extra day. So their idea, after figuring out the origami thing, is like, we're going to essentially create a kind of blood coagulant. So for your actual real nuclear reactor, you need to keep the electricity going so you can constantly cool shit so it doesn't melt down, which is exactly what happened when it was hit by a gigantic tsunami and turned off the power. It, couldn't cool itself because it lost power and it melted down. And that's what Godzilla is. So how do they deal with it? Well, they keep that shit cool. So they create a blood coagulant to just kind of freeze it in place and keep it from leaking radiation. And their plan is essentially knock Godzilla over, then get essentially a bunch of fire trucks to feed fire hoses into its open gob and just pump it full of this coagulant juice.
And it takes it's like it starts and then he wakes up and they're like, and they're like, bring
knock him over again.
go, and then
send
they
in
bring
the
in the
trains. And they send
trains.
every damn train. Luckily, Godzilla's standing on the tracks, and they send every
Right.
subway train to just bash him in the damn ankles. And it's like 50
It's
subway trains just hit him at once and then pop up like 150 feet into the air. I'm like, that's physics are not accurate there, but I don't care because it's kind of amazing looking. Godzilla just falls over again, and then they explode a bunch of buildings to fall on him. Luckily, he was standing next to all the tall buildings, so they
right.
knock all the buildings on to just hold his ass down.
And he hasn't already knocked those buildings
Yeah.
down. And then the
they
fire trucks are
feed
like,
the pipes down his throat again. Just keep pumping him full of crap.
like I said, it's
And then he freezes. And the
in a
only
really
point that
cool
anyone
position.
gets here is the fact that apparently the radiation from whatever unique isotope that this creature has a really, really short half-life. I think
I
they
love that
said
they
like
3.5 years, I think is what they said.
I think it was like the half-life is like 20 days, so all of the radiation will be gone in like 3 years, is what they.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm like, well, that's cool as long as whatever the hell it's decaying into isn't like horribly toxic or something, because who knows? Because
Yeah.
apparently the parent isotope is not an existing thing. It's completely brand new. But so we get to the end of the movie and we have frozen Godzilla, which
In the
is
background of the
a hell of,
four-fronted love story.
which is a hell of a landmark. Because Godzilla's stands up and then freezes, so you've just got Godzilla standing there like the Gundam statue that they have somewhere in Japan. And the camera pans over it and pans across its tail, and you look at its tail and there's a bunch of humanoid creatures kind of frozen to it, like its next form was going to like bleed off a bunch of little mini creatures to run humanoid creatures to run around. It's like,
Oh,
oh,
good.
we may have dodged a bullet with that one.
Just in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take care that doesn't thaw, shall we?
Yes, yes. Before we get to the denouement of the love story or the
Such that
office,
it is.
I know, right? When you were saying earlier about that
I
there
mean, it's a
isn't.
love story in the sense that the two most attractive people in the movie are standing next to each other and talking. That's
Yep.
as much heat as we get.
Oh yeah. It was titillating. No. It reminded me when you were saying that
I switch to English every once in a while to remind you that I'm American.
I know, right?
And he's
It
like,
goes back and forth.
stop
And the
doing
thing
that.
is that it just
Because your
proves
English is
how
as bad as mine.
the thing is though it proves how dumb we are as a country. The fact that she says an English sentence and immediately they're like, "Oh, we can speak English too, but why are we?" Like here, someone else comes into my house and speak like, or anywhere. There's not a lot of.
They bring in a bunch of they've got some French and German and Americans that they bring into the team, and you've got a couple of them speaking their own language. They're like, well, this in my own language is this thing, and all the Japanese
Right.
people are like, yes, because because
Because we're educated.
we learn different languages in school. It's not an elective.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah, it was very.
And I'm like,
I was
I
like,
bet that American can't understand anything anyone's saying.
no, no, because we dumb. And I am too, but I am on 75 days of Duolingo,
There
I
you
will
go.
tell you. Um,
I took 2 years of Spanish and don't speak any.
there you go.
In fact, I probably learned more Japanese watching foreign films than I did in 2 years of actual Spanish class.
You probably have. Yeah, you have. Not probably. You have.
Yeah.
There was a moment where the scene that we were talking about way, way, way at the beginning with them going, we have him in our sights. Should we do it? And he's like, should we do it? And she's like, should we do it? That scene when they say that they're going to go fire and they abort that mission. And the reason they abort that mission is because they see two people, well, actually like a dad and a son or something, crossing a bridge in
Yeah.
front of Godzilla. First off, is that the only way out of town? And didn't they evacuate the city before? Like, there was a lot wrong with
You're
that
always gonna
exact.
miss someone. It's like
Yes.
you're
But I was
running
like,
towards the monster.
and I'm like, how did you miss that, dude? Look up. But to your point about no malice,
Look up.
is Godzilla doesn't even look at them. He kind of just is standing there for a minute, kind of goofy looking, but like he's not gonna hurt them. He doesn't even, they're not even a thing. And they call off the strike because of course they can't, they don't want any civilian casualties, any more civilian casualties. But that's what's so terrifying, is like you have no idea what's gonna happen next. Like it's the perfect moment for those, and ostensibly
it could keep moving. It could. This was before it started firing lasers, and
yes,
it doesn't start firing lasers or anything until it's attacked.
Yes.
Before that, it's just walking through, literally through buildings and stuff, because they're just, it's kind of like twigs snapping under its feet.
Yeah.
But again, it's not a creature that's doing anything out of malice.
It's not
Doesn't
targeting
even seem to have
anything.
much cognitive awareness at all.
Exactly. Which is what, like,
it's kind of like how a plant grows towards the light, but probably isn't like, oh, hey, it seems warm over there, I think I'll lean. It's just
not a cat.
Biologically something it does.
Yeah. So anyways, I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because that made me
it's funny. I'm not terribly clear what the thesis of this film is. It's either, I mean, it's possible that one, not my culture, not my language. I'm working on off of a translation, so I may have missed some things that would have made whatever thesis the creative team is going for more clear to me. Or it has, which is kind of my read, it just has a lot to say. And that's broadly, we need to face the consequence. It's like, okay, these are bad things. There are consequences. We're going to have to deal with them, and shooting at them ain't going to help.
Right.
That's one thing. Government bureaucracy is an obnoxious, cumbersome pain in the ass that actually gets in its own way. But also, not everyone, as most of the people in that system are genuinely doing the best that they can. And also, it's not like there isn't reasons for the red tape. Like, there's no one in this movie who's like, we need to, kill, let all the people die for this thing that benefits me. It reminded me a little bit of movies like The Martian, where there's no bad guy. It's just we're all coming together to solve a problem as best we can.
Right. Well, I find I found it fascinating, actually, and
there's kind of the old guard might be too old now, and we do need to usher in the new guard.
Yeah, because there were some
also oldies. Not completely, ignore the things that we've learned along the way. And it seems that there's just saying a lot. Or it could be, we just wanted to make a Godzilla movie. We're just throwing shit at it.
But I agree with you. It was so much process. But I was fascinated with it. I thought it was very interesting because it truly is, like you said, there was no like infighting per se. It was, let's do this.
But
well, we can't because of this law. So you'd have to do this. And then that guy's like, well, but there's this statute that says this. And they're like, well, but if you read
we're going to need to
get
these people together to write new legislation that would allow us to do this thing. And you're sitting there going like, oh my God, there's a giant monster.
Yeah. But it's, I'm just like, wow. Because again, just like, I mean, this was 2016, but like, think about today. You make one little wrong move dealing with a monster even, and people are going to jump down, they're like, you weren't supposed to do that. PETA will throw red paint on.
It's like, but if we don't do this, then for example, it's like there's very little like, I'm going to hold information or lie to the public for my own image and to secure my next election or anything. It's more along the lines of, we're holding this from the public because we don't want to cause a stampeding panic before we're absolutely certain that we need to evacuate everybody.
Although, can we talk about how they talk about a stampeding panic and how they have to do it wisely? And then they do the announcement of, that's the immediate evacuation or whatever. And they handle it so beautifully. I'm like, look how organized you guys are. Like, I was like, this is great. I was so impressed. They had people in the little vests, and they're like, I mean, no one was like running.
Yeah, they're
They weren't
like,
killing each other.
yeah, they're
Like,
like,
that's
don't
funny.
bother with your car. That ain't gonna work. Walk
Yeah.
your ass over to the bus station and we will bus you out. And I love that
Yep.
overhead shot with just all the buses.
Yeah. No, that was
Um,
good. Okay. Anyway,
you
sorry,
know,
we derailed for a bit.
effects wise, I enjoy, there's a lot of Godzilla is very goofy looking, but he's also intentionally goofy looking. I kind of love the fact that he's CG, but he's clearly built to the CG model's clearly built to look like a goofy ass puppet. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's such a weird thing. I really enjoyed it. But also a lot of the screening effects, like where you see people running around in the foreground and then you see Godzilla stomping around in the background, that's really well done. All of the, you have this canal with a bridge over it, and you have the people on the bridge running to get out of the way, and Godzilla coming down and then knocking over the bridge that the people are standing. Pretty solid damn effects work in a lot of places. Pretty much any time giant bipedal Godzilla was trying to walk, that
Yeah. No.
right, that was kind of terrible.
They needed to get him to the at least semi stance that we're used to before the effects really took hold.
Yeah,
It was
I loved most of the stuff with wormy Godzilla. Uh,
I loved it so much.
I mean, you could double
No, for
kind
real
of a
though. For real
sound.
though.
That would
Yeah.
totally fit because he's got these big ass googly eyes. It's which again, goofy, but also just kind of horrifying looking. Um, so overall, I was not a movie I'd exit the theater pumping my fist and grabbing people and say, you must go see Shin Godzilla.
Right.
But I enjoyed it pretty well.
Yeah.
It's mostly it's mostly Godzilla is probably only in 15 minutes of a nearly 2 hour movie,
Yeah.
which is the case for most kaiju movies. But
Yeah.
even though it doesn't focus on too many gigantic cast so giant that even the movie was like, you're not going to be able to keep track of all these characters. And
No.
that's not a you American are not going to be able to keep track of all these Japanese people because you think we all look alike. No, this was we've got 250 people, so you're going to forget who these people are. And
Oh
so
my
we're
gosh.
just going to put locations and title cards and names and what
Everywhere.
department these people are for nearly every single person every time they talk.
Yeah, it
Um,
was intense. But I also liked how the rooms, the rooms were set up with like, here's the couch area and a table, and like here's a boardroom table. So like it's one meeting, but there's like several different and it's almost like the kiddie table. Anyways, just very funny.
yeah.
I find it
So
funny. But
overall, I'm glad I finally got to see this one.
yes, absolutely. So how many you chose this because it was next in the Godzillas that you need to see?
No, I chose this one because it's been one that there have been several Godzilla movies in the last, decade or so,
Right.
and none of them have really been like, ooh, I must see that. This is one of the only ones in the last 10 or so years that I've been like, ooh, I want to see that one. Mainly just because the unique look of Godzilla in this one. I'm like, okay, they're clearly doing something different with this one,
Right.
so I want to see it. The one that just came out, Godzilla Minus One, also looks great, and I'd really like to see. So,
There you go.
and of course, I think this Friday, our own Godzilla versus Kong
Oh,
Frozen.
right.
Oh, that's Ghostbusters. I forget what it's called, but the new Godzilla versus Kong movie came out, and and King Kong has a metal glove. He's got the power glove for some reason. And
I don't think I've seen many previews for it, in fact.
I don't know. I'm
I
kind of
know it exists. Like I'm not I like, but I'm
yeah.
like, I don't remember many previews. I just think I know of it. But then again, I don't watch television.
But I thought of a few different Godzilla movies because I thought that this Godzilla movie, is called Shin Godzilla. It's not really about a shin, but I thought, what if we came up with some other Godzilla movies based on parts of a body? What would they be like? And I thought, well, you could have humorous Godzilla, and it could just be a wonderful comedy. You could have hip Godzilla, something that might appeal to teens of the 90s. You could have a German version and call it Hair Godzilla. Yeah. You could homage Isaac Asimov with Godzilla. If the aliens come back, Godzilla might not be enough on his own, so we might have to arm Godzilla.
That one's pretty good. They all are pretty
We gave
good.
Godzilla a car, but he parked illegally, so now we have to tow Godzilla. If you have a question, perhaps you can ask Godzilla. I don't know. We know Mothra wants to bone Godzilla. Tongue Godzilla?
Ooh, Tongue Godzilla.
Tail Godzilla? A lot of Mothra's got the hots. When kaiju attack, we must face Godzilla. Kaiju are like cats, so there's more than one way to skin Godzilla. Okay, that's enough. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's pretty good though. That's pretty good. I'm gonna laugh about that for a while.
All right, so Kaijubilee month is
not over.
In progress. So what do you mandate we watch next?
Okay, so as we all know, because I've been talking about it a lot lately, I've been very much into Korean cinema this past year. And so I decided to go straight to the lovely I'm probably gonna mispronounce his name. So let me actually look. Oh, it's not even phonetic.
I have a guess as to what it is. I just finger spelled it.
Bong Joon-ho? Is that okay?
Well, I'm pretty confident I know which movie's coming.
From 2006.
Mm-hmm.
The Host.
The Host, yeah.
I wanted so badly to choose Okja because I want to see that so badly, but I was
Okja's
told
not that big.
Yes, I know, and that's why I want to see it so bad. I was like, can I get away with it? No, Kelly, but I really want to see The Host as well. You've probably seen it though.
I actually saw it in the theater.
I'm so excited.
I've
wanted to see it for
art theaters.
Oh, yeah, that's true too. I've wanted to see it forever, so I was really excited when we talked about Kaijubilee. That was the first one that came to mind. And then of course when I was looking at it a little bit more and I saw Okja, I was like, I should change it. And I'm like, no, go back to your original one because it doesn't fit the bill. So yeah, The Host, which you get to now watch again because that was 10 years ago. Okay, fine, it was 8 years ago. No, it was more than that. How many years ago was it? I can't do maths.
18. It did 2006, right?
Yes. 2006. I am so excited.
You want to know what my alternate was?
Yes.
Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
Oh,
I've actually never seen that.
I've never seen it either. Very interesting.
It's one it's one of the ones I've been meaning to watch forever, and that I would say that counts as a kaiju one. And I almost went with that because it's a kind of outside the box thing that I often like doing with our themes. But I just really wanted to see Shin Godzilla. So
yeah, no, and I'm glad you picked it. It was fun, and we will, just kind of hop on over to Korea and see what they have in store, or you get to see again and I get to see it for the first time.
Yeah. All right. Well, today's episode may have come to an end, but Pearl Clutcher, whoops, not Pearl Clutchers. No,
not any longer.
Update that. So Kaijubilee. There we go. Kaijubilee month continues next time with Kelly's mandated movie, The Host, a movie no one clutched their pearls over.
I wouldn't think so.
Really well received. If you'd like to watch it too, check out the description to see where it's currently streaming or available to rent. Until then, you can watch Movie Mandates on YouTube or listen to it in podcast form on iTunes. If you enjoy the show, want to help us reach a wider audience, engage! Like, subscribe, comment, and rate, review, all that stuff. Thank you much. And with that, I'm Andrew. Follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen.
And I'm Kelly on Instagram, Pimento Livia. Just one O though.
We hope you've all enjoyed this episode of Movie Mandates, and we'll be back soon with another mandated movie. Bye, everyone!